Hey guys, thanks for taking time to watch the video. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Our next goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers. So this week marked the 1 year anniversary since Flesh and Blood introduced the Armory decks. In my opinion, this has been the best change and the best product that LSS has created over the past year. So I wanted to take a look and review the Armory decks, review the different types that we've been getting, and look forward to the future and what we can expect from Armory decks moving forward. But first, the Armory decks fill four important goals for LSS. One, they provide a new player pathway. They allow players who are newer or more casual players to buy one product to then compete at their local armories each week. They used to have a product, Blitz decks, which I'm not sure if they're still doing anymore, because I haven't seen any announced for high seas. But Blitz decks were good, but stores didn't always run Blitz Armory events. Most stores do run CC Armory events, so that the Armory decks have been able to be played there, and new players have had something to be able to play. We can see examples of this from the Aurora deck. We created a new player pathway from the First Strike deck to the CC deck. The Ira deck coming out this summer has allowed that, from the Ira Welcome deck, the intro deck, and to then being able to pick up the Ira deck. We can see this with the new Gravy Bones deck coming out next month, how this deck is coming out alongside release and can be interchangeable between CC and Blitz, which provides a great middle ground between the Blitz decks and the Armory decks that we've been getting used to over the past year, as well as the new Legends decks that are going to be available for the LL format. They're going to be at conventions like Comic-Con and Gen Con. All of these options have been great things that LSS has been able to put out for new players to get into the game very easily. But secondly, it has allowed LSS to provide support for heroes that are older that have been lacking in meta relevance or playability. We can see this with the new Max deck that just came out a couple weeks ago, the Dash IO deck that came out recently, the Azalea deck from last year, as well as the Bolton deck from last year. And so it's allowed LSS to be able to support these heroes that haven't been getting much love recently. Third, it has allowed extra support for heroes in the current sets without making cards draft playable. We're going to be seeing this with the new Gravy Bones deck, how there's an ally in there that is not going to be in the main set. And LSS has also said that they're going to be doing this moving forward, and each set the goal is to have an Armory deck released with the set. And so I think that's pretty cool. And so yeah, the Gravy Bones deck, Dash IO was close to release, KO was close to their release, and Aurora was close to the release of Rosetta. But I like how they are changing that, and they're going to be pumping out Armory decks on release. That's great. That allows people to get into the game, into the new set, without having to buy a ton of product, a bunch of singles. So that's a great change. And finally, they can introduce new heroes that don't quite fit with the main line sets. And so we saw this with Jarl. Jarl didn't fit into any of the main sets, didn't fit into Rosetta, but LSS wanted to introduce Jarl to help provide another option in the meta, to help balance the meta a little bit. And so I think that we're going to see this moving forward a lot, once or twice a year, to get a new hero introduced through the Armory decks. And so to review them in general, I think that the print runs on them have been great. Some stores have seen them sell out and not have enough stock for them, but they're still readily available online and for around MSRP. And the singles haven't gone crazy, which is great. None of the decks have inverted EV. None of the decks have singles that are significantly worth more than the deck sealed itself. And so all that to say, I think that the release of them, how LSS is handling them, has been very good. I also like how the stores that get them are the ones that are running events. If you're not running events each week for your store, you can't really get these Armory decks. So this prevents stores that don't support the game to buy them and just sell them for profit later. I think this is a great way of rewarding the stores that are focusing on building up their local player base and that are running weekly events. Reprints. So sometimes they have reprints in them, which I like. I like how players can get access to older cards through these armory decks. I also like how LSS isn't overdoing the reprints on them as well. They're not taking a bunch of high expensive cards and just eroding their value. However, they're being careful with which cards to reprint. Some of the good reprints that they've done are like Red in the Ledger for the Azalea deck. A card that is much needed in the Azalea deck, allows players to have access to that card. And they did Heist recently with the Max deck. Heist was a great include in the Max deck, and they only put it at 1 of, so they didn't completely erode the value of a around $30 card, but they allowed newer players to have access to at least one copy of the card. So I think that was a great compromise that they put into the deck without completely eroding the value of that card. So I'm excited to see what cards they're going to be introducing in the future with these armory decks. We'll see if there's any more reprints in, for say, like the Aurora deck, or even the Gravy Bones deck. But yeah, so far I think their handling of the armor decks have gone very well. And I like how there's new heroes being introduced. My prediction for the future is that I think that over the next year we get Dromai in an armory deck. I don't think she comes in a main set, a standalone set this year. However, I think that we get her in an armory deck. Another hero that I think that we might get soon, we might get some reprints of older heroes. I'm hoping for Katsu. I'm hoping that we get a Katsu armory deck that introduces a new combo line, maybe a new equipment piece, maybe a new arm piece would be great. But I think that we get a Katsu deck coming out soon, and then following the trend of armory decks for sets, I think it's possible we could get an Acilio deck coming out, one of the lesser played heroes from Rosetta, but one that's still well loved by the players. And I think that Fane gets an armory deck coming up soon as well. And so those are my predictions for armory decks, and then a wild long shot prediction for an armory deck that we get that is for a hero that is not on many people's radar right now, Amira Serrana, who is the illusionist from the Flicker Trick card. I think that we need another illusionist out there. I think an armory deck would be great. And if they don't put Dromai in an armory deck, or even if they do, I think Amira Serrana, the girl from the Flicker Trick, makes it into the armory deck. That's my wild long shot prediction. But if you're still looking to get into Flesh and Blood, if you're a newer player into Flesh and Blood, you want to pick up an armory deck, my recommendations for armory decks, I have 3. I'd be pick up the Jarl deck. Jarl is a great hero. He's a control style hero, and he is very playable right out of the box, and he's very easy to upgrade without spending a ton of money. Same with the KO deck. The KO deck is also a very good deck out of the box. The first one they did back in May of last year has a lot of pieces. It has a lot of combo potential, a lot of high roll potential in KO. He's more of an aggressive deck that also blocks well, so you kind of get the best of both worlds there. And then the Dash IO deck is pretty good as well. The Dash IO deck features some cards that might be more relevant come high C season. So if you want to buy a deck that also has utility to transfer to other decks soon, Dash IO would be a great deck to pick up. Decks that are sleeper decks that might be coming relevant in the future. The Max deck, the Azalea deck might get more high C support, and I think Bolton would be decent next year. So if you get him now, save some of the cards, save the hero. Next year we're getting a new Monarch set, and so he might get more support there as well. And now is a great time to buy low on the Bolton deck. And then Aurora. I still think you should buy the Aurora deck. She's under MSRP on TCG Player. She has some great cards in the deck, and she's playable in LL. And so while we're talking about Aurora, I want to talk about the most recent dev talk that came out as well, which they featured them admitting that they had made a problem with Aurora by not banning cards. And I just want to talk about my opinions for it. So first of all, I love the transparency. We are very spoiled with Flesh and Blood. LSS, they know what they're doing, and even sometimes when they don't, they admit they make mistakes, and they're committed to changing and improving on their past. This is way more than a lot of games do. A lot of games you don't even hear from their higher ups. You don't hear from the developers. You don't hear from the people making and organizing the game. and organizing the tournaments. You don't hear from these people. However, LSS is different. They want to be transparent with the players. They want to assure them that they're working on things. They apologize when they mess up. They grow from it. They learn from their mistakes. And in the future, I have full faith that they're not going to be making some of the similar mistakes, and that they have pathways and they have plans to reduce the amount of things that happen in their game, and the things that 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 they don't get right the first time. They talked about the LL system. I'm not going to talk too much about it. In this video, I'm going to come out with a new video late this week, early next week. My thoughts about how to improve the LL system. But they are working on that. They said that Aurora LL too fast, and that they want to change that in the future. And I think that's great. That's great transparency from them, and I like how they aren't wanting to let that happen again. They talked about how the Aurora deck was only out 2 months, and that wasn't their intention to have the deck only out 2 months. And how now we have an Armory deck that is kind of unplayable at CC Armory events. I don't think this is as much of a feels bad for the players as a lot of people are making it out to be. In my opinion, it hurts the stores more. People who still have the decks. I mean, I still have a couple decks. Players can't buy that deck now and go to their local armory to play it, but it's still good in LL. I mean, the stores are the ones eating the cost on them. I mean, players were able to buy the decks, play with the cards for a couple months, and now they have a good LL deck. Aurora is decent in LL. And so, and the deck was only $40. Like, if the deck was $60, $80, $100, I could see it being maybe more of an issue. However, with only a $40 deck and the hero being playable for still a couple months during major competitive seasons, it's not really a big deal for me having the deck only be CC playable for 2 months. But I could be wrong. I could be in the minority there. But yeah, in my opinion, it just hurts the stores more who already have them, because now they have to sell them at a loss or sell them at break even. But yeah, I'm not super hurt over the Aurora deck only being out 2 months. They're working on it. They admitted, they apologized, and they're gonna not make that mistake in the future. They're gonna release decks along the release of the hero, so you can have more time to play with them. I think that's a great change. They talked about how ELO was broken, how the ELO system is not going to be around for next year. This is great. From what I've heard from higher level players, that sometimes players skip events. They skip their RTNs, their pro quests, even callings, because they don't want to hurt their ELO. And so this actually disincentivizes the players from playing the game. And the fact that they're wanting to change the system is great, because their mission statement is to bring people together to play great games in the Flesh and Blood. And so if they are disincentivizing players from playing those games, and that goes against their core mission statement. And so I'm glad that they saw this. And I'm glad that they're working on developing a system that encourages people to come out and play at their higher level events, to play at their local stores for Road to National season, for ProQuest season, not be afraid that any loss taken at these events is going to hurt their overall standing and ability to qualify for the next higher level events like the Pro Tour or Worlds. So this is a great change. Happy to see it. I know most of the players are happy to see this change as well. They keep talking about Dromai, wanting to bring Dromai back. I think there's going to be an Armory deck towards the end of the year. I think Dromai will be playable for Worlds this year. That's my hot take. And that she will be back this year is my opinion. They've said that she's been one of the most popular heroes requested. She was popular back during the Uprising days, and she's still popular. Everyone wants to be able to play with their dragons again, and we can see this in the market, how people are holding Marvel dragons. The Marvel dragon prices have actually gone up since she Living Legend, compared to when she was still available to be played. And so I think it's inevitable that we get Dromai this year, and that people will be playing her for Worlds this year. They talked more about their bans, how they want to do more proactive bans in the future, and more frequent ban schedule. I think this is great. I don't see bans as something to be sad about. I don't think bans represent failure or misses on their part. I think they should be allowed to use the banned system or restricted system to adapt the metagame and evolve the metagame based on where they want it and what will be healthy for players moving forward. And so I don't think the bans mean they made a mistake, but bans are signifying that they want to change the meta and they want to help the players. And so I'm grateful for their willingness to use bans more frequently. I'm biased. I like to see Bonds of Ancestry unbanned now that Zen is gone. I want to see Katsu be able to play that card again, even if it's just restricted to one copy. I'd love to see that card unbanned. But I'm looking forward to the May 19th announcement. Fingers crossed for Katsu. We'll see if he gets that Bonds of Ancestry back. But I'm excited to see how their bans are going to affect the meta moving towards national season. And finally, they said that there are still 2 surprises in store for High Seas. One major reprint is coming in the expansion slot. I'm still saying it's Codex of Frailty. I've been saying it's going to be Codex of Frailty. And then they said they have one more big surprise as well. I think that surprise is Warmongers. We're going to get Warmongers Diplomacy as a legendary, alt art legendary, just like the CNC treatment. And so if my predictions are accurate, that's great. And I think that's going to be great for the players because both of those cards need reprints and both those cards are going to be widely played come High Seas format. And so I also like that they're still withholding information about the set until maybe the world premiere where people are actually opening cards. And so I like their changes to the spoiler seasons. I like how they're not spoiling the entire set, but they're letting players who pay and go to these events for the world premieres to experience some of the cards firsthand themselves and to allow the sealed calling on that weekend to be one of the freshest formats that they can produce because everyone's on the same playing field. We don't know all the cards yet, and everyone's having to adapt and think on the fly. So it's great thing that they still have surprises coming along. Finally, a couple of housekeeping things that I want to talk about. I will be in Taiwan vending at the world premiere. If you need anything, please let me know. If you're looking for some of the promos, I'll be bringing some back because I'll also be vending at US Nats in Vegas. So please stop by the booth if you're looking for anything High Seas wise. I'm not doing pre-orders for this set. I'm only going to be selling cards in Vegas at the world premiere. And so if you still need cards on Thursday night, we'll be open 5 to 9. And please stop by the booth if you still need High Seas cards. Or if you need anything that was given out in Taiwan as well, I'll have access to all of those things. Also wanted to preview, I got another batch of my Righteous Gaming coins in stock. And so I will have more of them just in time for High Seas season. They on the front, I'll post a picture on my X account. So look for them there. I'll post a picture in the comments as well. But on the front, they have my Righteous Gaming logo. And on the back, they say action, pay 2 resources, destroy gold, draw a card, go again. So we're getting gold again as a mechanic. So I thought it'd be great to do another print run of these. I'd sold out of these previously. And so I'll have a lot of these for Taiwan and US Nationals. They'll be $5 a coin. And so, yeah, if you want to bling out your gold in style and have actual metal coins that don't rip, that aren't paper, that you don't need to slab, this is a great option for you. Finally, I'm going to be running a tournament in our Discord server Sunday, June 1st, Sunday of pre-release weekend. It's going to be a CC tournament. The amount of rounds is still undecided, but it's going to be free. We're going to give out prizes. I'm going to give out some gold coins to the top players. I may give out a treasure pack to the winner. We'll see. But if you're interested in having, for the U.S. players, a little bit of CC prep for nationals to run some decks, so it'll be High Seas legal. We'll be playing on Talishar. And yeah, if you're wanting some extra practice and preparedness, then we'd welcome you to play in our tournament that we're going to be hosting on Sunday, June 1st. And so join the Discord. The link is in the comments if you're interested in that. We'll be posting more information about that shortly. Alright guys, well I appreciate you guys watching the video. If you need anything, please let me know. It's a great time to be in Flesh and Blood right now, and I'm super excited to see how High Seas is going to be accepted by the players. Have a good day.